Hi there. In this video, I'm going to go over the basics of QGIS's project screen. Now, when you first open QGIS, you will usually, if you've used it before, you'll get a list of projects you've worked on in the past. Right in the middle here, you'll have some little windows open up on the left side, maybe on the right side, maybe at the bottom, depending on how you want to orient your screen. I'm just going to show you how to set this up as I like to set it up. I think it's kind of a nice logical way to have the most commonly used tools at your disposal. Before we get set up, let me just show you where some of the commonly used commands and packages are going to live. So right up at the top here, we've got our project button. This is where we can save our project. We can create new projects. We can create new print layouts, essentially new maps. And modify properties. This is a really important one that we'll use a lot, this properties window, which is also accessible by hitting Control-Shift-P or Command-Shift-P on a Mac. Edit is going to be our, copy, paste, a bunch of editing tools as well for editing shapes and lines. View, some navigation tools and shortcuts here. This is where we can add layers, raster and vector layers, and create new layers in this Layers tab here. Settings is where we can modify some settings for our map document and how we want the GIS to work. Plugins, this is where we're going to, we'll talk about this in another video, but where we can manage and install plugins, sort of add on functionality to QGIS through packages that programmers and developers and GIS users have contributed to the open source QGIS project. We have vector, our vector tools, which we'll learn how to use, our raster tools, sort of all through here. Database tools, web tools is where we'll add, I'll show you how to add this quick map services to add any sort of base map we want to our map, like a Google map or anything else. And then a couple other toolbars here. Some of these are plugins that I've installed, and the processing toolbox is where all of our commands will live. Right up along the top here, we have some of our common navigation tools, which can also be found in these drop downs here. New project, open a project, save. Always want to save super frequently, as frequently as you can. New layout, zoom in and out, pan your map around. A couple other tools here, some statistics tools, measure tool. This is super useful for measuring areas on a map or lengths of line on a map. Some annotation tools over here. These tools allow us to add data onto our map. And all these grayed out tools right here, these are editing tools. So if we have maybe it's the boundary of Saratoga County, and we realize there's a mistake. There won't be, but let's imagine we found a mistake. We could use a lot of these tools to modify the shape of our geospatial data. We will get into that later on in this semester, probably weeks 4 and 5. First things first, before we move on to the next video, let's set up our QGIS window. Once we set it up one time and we close QGIS, it'll open up in that same way. So we have the settings that we want to see and want to continue to see as we use QGIS. So I'm going to right click up here. And when I right click anywhere here, or on a Mac, you may have to do command click, I can see panels. And panels are things, little widgets that will live off to the side of your screen. I don't have any of these open right now. I also see my toolbars, and a number of these are checked. So my toolbars are all of these things here, and they're separated by these little double dotted lines that you can see here. So if you ever lose something from the top here, one of these toolbars, and you want to bring it back, this is where you can do that, right in that toolbar area here. So I can show you. There goes advanced digitizing. Let's bring it back, because I'd like to have that one. All right, so let's set up our panels. First things first, I want my layers panel. And mine automatically pops up over here because I've done it before. But if for some reason you want to move a panel around, all you got to do is grab the top I'll do that one more time. I just grab the top of it and then I can move it. And as I'm moving it, I can choose where I want that to live. So you see how I can bring it over to the side here and release it. And now it's going to be pinned. It's going to live over on the side. I can resize this, make it big, make it small, but it's going to be pinned here until I change it. And it'll stay there when I open the QGIS up again. Okay, so layers is one. I'm also going to add a browser panel. And I've done this before, so again, it's going to pop up over there, but yours might pop up in the middle or off to the left. What I like to do with the browser panel is I like to, so if I put it right on top of layers, see what I have down here? I have browser and layers, sort of tabbed, just like an internet browser would be tabbed. I don't want that to be the case because I want to always, I want to always see my layers tab. So I'm going to move browser out of there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put browser up on top of layers. So now I can move these up and down, but browser is always going to be visible and layers is always going to be visible. Now the other two that I really like to have is layer styling. And again, that popped in down with my my layers. I'm going to move it out. I'm going to put it up with my browser tool. So I have layer styling and browser. The last one I want is I want my processing toolbox panel. And I can do processing toolbox by also clicking this button, hitting Control-Alt-T. And I'm going to take that processing toolbox, I'm going to move it up here. So now I have access to all of my tools. I can modify layer styling, basically change the colors of roads or lakes or whatever I have in my map. Or I can use my browser to find data to add onto my map. So I've got these three set up top here and my layers down at the bottom here. And hopefully it'll become clear why I like to have it set up like this. But for now, just trust me on this. All right, I'm going to save. Last thing I'm going to do is going to save my project. YouTube QGIS. All right. So now that that's saved, we'll stop recording here and move on to the next video.